And okay, I think there it is. It's recording. Hello, guys. So we're just waiting for others to come in. Hopefully, they'll be here. They'll be here in the next few minutes. And then let me just call in Facebook. Let me see if that would. Okay, I'll just place with them. Class is now starting. As I have at least a good 25 people who said that they'll be coming in. So I don't want anyone to be left out. So for those who are not able to see the link towards this Google Meet, just click on the event and you will be brought in directly here on this meeting. So for those who are essentially in TikTok at the moment, feel free to follow my bio. It's actually there, the link to the Facebook learning group that we have started, and we will welcome you up when it comes to our discussion. Now, let's proceed again. Nursing prioritization and delegation. Again, this is a two-part. This is part one. Okay, I'm going to continue on with delegation if there's a possibility, if I will not be called to work, hopefully Saturday morning. Nonetheless, the main purpose of this one is to ensure that there will be a booster discussion focusing on the areas that are, a little bit shaky for most people who had been taking NCLEX. So, a lot of people, and mind you, for the last 2 weeks that I have been counseling people who are not able to pass NCLEX, have the problem primarily with prioritization. Just like last night, I was able to tell you that prioritization is an overall encompassing concept. Okay, when you're talking about prioritization in NCLEX, okay, establishing priorities in NCLEX is about care direction. So, why is this important? Okay, because we as nurses are the one that commanders the entire caring process when it comes to patient related concerns. In fact, we are the very first people who would know if the patient is actually progressing to a good level of health or could be declining into something that could be life threatening. That's how important we are. That's also the reason that when you're talking about establishing priorities, this is essentially management of care. Okay. And if you're going to look at this in the perspective of NCLEX, this could be at least 30% of your exam, meaning a 100 item examination, this could actually rack you up with 30 questions. And as you know, when you're talking about NCLEX, it's always going to be every item has a value, meaning every item you answer will decide not just your passing or your failing, but the entire flow of your exam altogether. On top of that, establishing priorities is not just a unique NCLEX aspect. Establishing priorities is also a lifelong skill that is needed by any nurses. So why? Why is it like that? Because our everyday task is to ensure that the care that we are providing for our patients are essentially not just within standard. That's why there's three pictures here. Your care should be routed, okay, to a correct direction. One thing that people miss, especially when you start the admission process or the actual inpatient care of an actual patient, or when you're starting any care, inpatient, outpatient, home health, wherever it is, you begin with an initial assessment that will then guide you as to how are you going to perform your functions. This is also a reflection of the clinical judgment measurement model. So what is the clinical judgment measurement model? If you have been following me in and in our in our group, I have been continually telling you guys to maximize, okay? Maximize the importance of understanding the model, because the model is not just something that would be essential, okay? Essential for your exam. This is how someone, particularly NCSBN, wanted you, okay? This is something that NCLEX is pointing at. This is what NCLEX wants you, or how it wants you to think. How NCSBN is expecting a nurse who is about to start in the nursing profession to be able to think. So what are the 6 steps? Of course, it begins with understanding your cues. You need to know your cues. You need to recognize what are the indicators that would create a problem or would progress the care of the patient. Number 2, what does the cues or the signs and symptom was that what would it mean? What does it shows you? What does it wants to actually, okay, to actually focus on? The next thing is, of course, your ability to prioritize. Now, why am I emphasizing this one? The reason why I'm emphasizing this one is that you need to understand what is happening with the patient before you could prioritize. The importance of that is it would also require you to be more proactive in the care. Now, what is the impact of this, particularly when it comes to the nursing practice? Previously, NCLEX is all about critical thinking. That's why before 2016 and 2017, if you know how to do your test taking strategies, if you could memorize, if you have a memory that would be so strong that could memorize tons of mnemonics, you could survive NCLEX. However, also in 2016 all the way to 2017, NCSBN was bombarded with a problem. And what is this problem? A lot of nurses knows the theory but could not progress the care with the theory. So what does that mean? You are well versed as a nurse in terms of what's written in the book, but applying what's written in the book, particularly on your actual care delivery, becomes a problem. And they saw 2 important things there. Nurses, especially those that are in practice, lacks a little bit of the capacity to prioritize their actions. You can blame them because here, even here in the US, we are sometimes over understaffed, like seriously understaffed. So if you're going to be the nurse, there could be moments wherein you slip up. You will prioritize more likely those patients that has a lot of needs. But are they really the main people that you prioritize? Just like what I was able to share as a story last night. I have a travel nurse in the unit who essentially was wanting to focus on a patient who is having a tantrum simply because he or she is not receiving his medication. So what happened there? He needs to route that person while forgetting, okay, while forgetting the main patient that he or should put, or rather he should supposed to be following. So who is this patient? The one that's having a tantrum is a 53-year-old. Okay, it's a 53-year-old opiate dependent, mm, with anger issues. Okay, this is the one he prioritized. He has 5 patients. Who is the one who's one of the other patient? The other patient he has is a 73-year-old new NGT, new feeding. Okay. He didn't prioritize the 73-year-old. He prioritized the 53-year-old because the 53-year-old becomes so angry. So he focused on customer service. That's nothing wrong. But what's the problem here? When he came into the lady, the 73-year-old's room, it's almost 6:30. Okay? It's almost 6:30. Meaning, we're almost about to change shift. So he hurried up and set up the feeding tube of the lady. Inadvertently, he actually missed when it comes to the bags of the feeding. He put milk, okay? He put milk on a water container while putting the water on the formula container of a kangaroo pump setup. So the lady who was supposed to only receive 10 meals of formula every hour is now receiving at least 150 meals of formula every 3 hours. Simply because she placed, or the nurse placed the formula on the water bag. Now what is it emphasizing with you? Because of that wrong prioritization of giving 1 hour of your time to this patient, you made an error on this one. And could that be dangerous? What do you think for people in the Google group? Diba? It could be dangerous. It could have life-threatening consequences. What if that patient, this 73-year-old, is having some dysphagia problem? Now you have a possibility of aspiration pneumonia. In fact, we were able to discover that mistake around 2 in the morning. When the nurse in charge of it came to me, I was the head charge during that night, and told me, Alan, someone screwed up. And then he showed me. So if we're going to count every 3 hours, starting at 6, when the pump was set up, 9, 12, as well as that of 2, more likely it's already flush. The lady had already received at least 300 meals of feeding. And the lady who was supposed to be transitioned to a skilled nursing facility the next morning, unfortunately, ended up staying 2 more nights, because what happened afterwards is that the lady had diarrhea. He wasn't able to actually tolerate that much fluid that came into her, especially a formula. Good thing it was diarrhea. Good thing it's not the other way around, wherein it became aspiration pneumonia. So, guys, this is not just for the exam. This is your lifeline. You have licenses, and any errors that you create, especially when you cannot prioritize effectively, would essentially cost you your career. Not just your license, your career, especially if you have plans of doing it here in the United States. Even there in the Philippines, if we have Filipino nurses there that are actually listening to me in TikTok Live. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining. Mhm. The biggest problem that you will have is what? Mhm. What's happening? Sometimes when you are like overstaff, or rather over we have over what you could handle, particularly with the patient, you forget some necessary care. So what are those care? Turning side to side. Can't blame you. In the Philippines, you don't have nurse techs. Okay. So it's imperative that before you begin your shift, you need to know your patient. But again, I will give it up to you. It's not that easy to handle 10 patients. I was once in your foot when I was a jail nurse in the Philippines, and I'm the only nurse for like 300 inmates. So I could feel you, especially during dengue time, as well as that of rainy season wherein everyone is having diarrhea. It's not a joke. So you needed to understand this, because again, if you cannot route the care correctly, it only means you're piling up your job, particularly the work that you needed to finish. You are putting your patient at risk, and then there is also a possibility of you complicating the care of the patient. Next one, the reason why NCLEX is so hell-bent on prioritization is that this is also based on global standard. Wherever you are in the world, Philippines, Australia, Japan, Singapore, UAE, Dubai, Oman, UK, United States, there is an effective and established standard on how are we going to actually care for our patients. And that is governed primarily when it comes to your actual creation of clinical judgment. And you cannot create clinical judgment because if you have wrong priorities, it only means wrong judgment. That is why if you're going to notice policies about blood transfusion, it is step by step, and that is actually telling you what to do in terms of situations as blood transfusion side effects or adverse reaction to the transfusion. Global standards also dictates if there is a safety. Mhm. There is a safety require or rather safety requirement for your patient. There is also step-by-step process. Those step-by-step process, those step-by-step policies is not just something out of the book. It is intended to be prioritized because it end up with the best, okay, with the best output ever. That's why on the third picture, your establishing of priorities would essentially mean the outlook of your care. Wrong priorities will be failure. Effective prioritization will always lead to success. And what is that success? People can be well. Okay? Okay, hi coach, jail nurse po kayo. Mhm. Po. I've been a jail nurse. I've been helping, but my main assignment was in the National Training School for Boys, which is the biggest in terms of juvenile and CICL in the Philippines. The very first is that. So I've been there for 7 years. That is why in those kinds of setting where you're like the only nurse, you need. To be honest, I thank that place because that gave me the ability to actually decide well on very serious situation. The worst case that I encountered there was 30 people. Seriously, 30 people, 30 young 30 young CICL decided to, test everyone's ego and started stabbing randomly. Like seriously, I ended up starting a I have no choice. Uh Sorry if I'm going to speak Tagalog. Kahit palya-palya, I needed to start a chest tube because someone got stabbed in the chest. Those things happened. Those things happen. And sometimes, and because of that assignment as well, I was also invited multiple times to join ISO conventions for the DOH. That is why I always emphasize this as well, because even in the ISO, it is being emphasized that you need to teach your nurses to balance their work. It's not because tinitipid tayo on our on our salary or whatnot. It's because this has very, very lasting impact on your patient. So in the perspective of the practice, this is it. In the perspective of NCLEX, Linda Silvestri, one of the most celebrated authors of NCLEX preparation material in the planet, with her comprehensive review for the NCLEX examination, which is already at its 9th edition, always emphasize this very, very simple concept of prioritization or principle of prioritization for NCLEX. And that is deciding which needs or problems requires immediate action and which could be delayed. This is also imperative, particularly with your case studies in NCLEX. Who here have just taken NCLEX? Okay, is there anyone in the TikTok group as well as that in the uh, Gmeet group, the Google Meets group? Mhm. And what have you noticed? And what have you noticed when it comes to the case studies? The case studies follows, okay? The case studies follows a very specific pattern. It begins with signs and symptoms that you need to identify. Which of the signs and symptoms are actually showcasing the condition? And then a next set of questions that will help you identify what is happening with the patient. And then the third question would be focused primarily on what are the actions or what are the conditions and signs and symptoms that you need to prioritize. The next one would be what would be your set of solutions and activities that are needed by this patient respective of the case presented to you. Then there will be a matrix SATA or matrix select all that apply that will ask you which would you include. Okay, which would you include in your list of activities that would ensure that the patient is becoming or will become better. And then the last one could either be a highlight question or a closed drag and drop wherein it has like a drop down box wherein you will complete a clinical reasoning that shows you or test you how are you going to evaluate the level of care. Did I get it correct? Did I get it correct for those who've taken their NCLEX? If you could remember? Ganun-ganun, di ba? That's how it is. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your clinical judgment evaluation. Your case studies being anchored in prioritization is the basis of your clinical judgment score. Okay? So for those who have taken NCLEX and weren't able to pass, you were sent a paper, right? You were sent a paper with the result. And the result has two parts. It has the concept. What are those concepts? Management of care, safety and infection control, health promotion and maintenance, basic care, or rather, psychosocial integrity, basic care and comfort, reduction of risk potential, pharmacological and parenteral therapies, and finally, you have physiological adaptation. Those are the concept pillars of NCLEX. But there is also a next set underneath. And what are those? Clinical judgment. And you have seen it there, right? For those who have their report, their NCLEX report at the moment, look at it. There is now a score intended for identifying cues, analyzing cues, prioritizing hypotheses, defining or identifying a solution, and then implementing the solution, and then the sixth one, evaluating the level of care. So you see, that's how complicated NCLEX is. Sorry, I will speak Tagalog. Kaya kung may maririnig kayo, nakikembot-kembot sa stage at sasabihin ng mga mnemonics at isasayaw-sayaw, hindi na po yan tatalab sa NCLEX. Okay? So it's not just memorization. You need to train your mind into creating, okay, decisions. And I'm not saying it simply because once upon a time I was also like that because I'm also an NLE reviewer and an NCLEX reviewer back in the Philippines. National level pa nga, in fact. But when I came here in the United States and I got exposed because I am now a professor in one of the major nursing schools in Utah, I was able to encounter how they are reviewing in NCLEX. And that's why I would want you guys to mix the best of both worlds. So how are they reviewing here for NCLEX? Three main pillars. Practice with precision on the questions. Make sure that you are answering NCLEX level questions. Difficulties that are focused on prioritization, building up a plan, decision making, critical thinking, not memorization. Not identifying or, it could help. I am not taking that out. It could help if you could make a song out of the different medications of the heart. I have no problem with that. But the next question is, what are you going to do with that song if there is like a 63-year-old patient who have just experienced acute myocardial infarction, went to the unit with the following signs and symptoms, and then the question would be like, which of the following actions would you do first? Or worse, if that is a matrix SATA, okay, align each action if they are a priority, not a priority, or something that is totally contraindicated. So where will your kembot and singing mnemonics would come in? Okay? So that is why, guys, I am sharing with you that the best thing that we've been doing here in the US so far, and that's the reason why the US, every US educated nurses have at least 89 to 90% chance of passing. They practice on questions. They focus on NCLEX level concepts. And the most important one, they free up their mind. When I'm saying free up their mind, they are freeing up their mind. I am part of the college's succession group, which prepares graduate for NCLEX, and we are continually giving them targets focusing on NCLEX after they graduate. The biggest challenge that we will have, because we are international students or internationally trained nurses, is that we don't have that. So I am giving you tips as well. Practice on questions of prioritization, because this will actually govern your case studies and also 30% of your actual NCLEX. Now, how are we going to use prioritization as a basis of clinical judgment? This is what we develop. Once upon a time, and this is also something that I actually developed when I was working in one of the big BPOs in the Philippines as one of their senior coaches when it comes to NCLEX. That BPO now has, if I'm not mistaken, almost they're already in their 92nd batch since 2016, and a very successful one, I might say. So the question is, how are we going to prioritize? First, identify what is your type of question. Okay? So these are the type of questions that you could encounter. It could be either nurse-centered, which is focused on procedures, legality, as well as that of policies and standards. So this is where you will be asked what would be the actions that would fit the condition the most. It could be a mix of an assessment and implementation, wherein you're going to be asked by NCLEX which of the following assessments will you actually focus on. It could also be an all implementation, wherein a patient has been started on heparin drip. What would be your main interventions to be considered as a top priority? So how do you answer this? Okay, you answer this based on established standard. So these are the type of questions wherein their prioritization could either be a multiple choice or a drag and drop. This would help you primarily give the correct way of thinking towards it. Why? Because if you're talking about assessment, you need to understand what is being shown by the patient, or what does that specific condition being indicated is showing at the moment. Then it could also be nursing function. So how do we answer this one? Okay? Always remember your nursing functions. If that would be assessment, independent assessments would be your top priority. Then you will have dependent assessments as next. So what are those? Laboratory values that you needed to choose. And finally, interdependent approaches. That applies for both assessment and implementation. Because you could have an independent assessment. Let's say, for example, for a patient with a myocardial infarction, what would be your main immediate independent? Okay? What is your main independent task that you needed to do in assessment? Let's say if that would be an MI patient, what would be your main primary assessment? Pain. Very good. What else? So you're going to look for pain. You're going to look for breathing difficulties. You're going to look for arrhythmia. Okay. What are the dependent ones? You will request for an order for an EKG. You could request for an order for the laboratory of, okay, BNP, troponins. Okay, high sensitivity troponins. Interdependent would be what? Let's see. Surgical procedure, could be stenting in a cardiovascular lab. So these are the techniques that you always remember when you are dealing with this. Always follow the concept of the nursing process. It will always be ADPI. And if that would be actions, use this. A lot of people gets this question wrong because they will consider the most immediate one to be tell the doctor, trigger an order. Okay? If the situation of NCLEX indicates that there is no other way other than telling the doctor, then do so. So let's say, for example, in a myocardial infarction case of a client, if the patient would suddenly go into a stage 3 or a level 3 bundle branch block, then that requires doctor intervention. Or if ever that there would be a need for him, let's say, for example, the indicated case I've already said that EKG was done, initial labs was drawn, you need to, okay, you need to transfer and refer the patient to the cath lab. Okay, so that's how you answered nursing-centered procedures, legalities, and policy-based question. In safety questions, particularly focus on psych questions as well as that of pharmacology questions, you always prioritize complications. If that would be a safety associated with the environment or the behavior, okay, you focus on the most threatening. Okay? The most threatening thing. So let's say, for example, if there is a fire, what is the threat? The threat would be focus on the patients who cannot move. So your main priority during a fire is to actually secure your patient before you, okay, before you take out the fire, okay, or raise the alarm. Remember? If that would be a behavior, you need to make sure that the patient is not a danger to himself and others. Then you would go to the least harmful. Another thing that is being forgotten, particularly when you're talking about prioritization in NCLEX, is the importance of education. And where does this go? This goes primarily on questions that are focused on discharge, referral, and establishment of independence. If, so this is something that a lot of people forget when they are answering their matrix SATA. Okay? It may not be a priority, but it could be something to be done later. So ano po ba yung matrix SATA? What is matrix SATA, Coach Len? Matrix SATA is when you see 5 items, item 1, item 2, item 3, and this is also one of the most dreaded at the moment, item 5. And then you are actually going to choose if this is a priority, non-prio, or contraindicated. It could come in many forms, but it is actually like this. And you needed to make sure that you place them correctly. Okay, o di naturo sa review center yan, no? Hmm. So guys, the reason why I'm saying this is because I have a lot of students, not just in the Philippines, but also in India, who are telling me that they paid a huge amount of money on their reviews only for them to not be taught NGN level questions. And that spelled doom for them. I even have someone who is actually from Australia. Imagine Australia, who told me that she wasn't able to see any of this advanced form of questions. And these are prioritization based questions, guys, huh? Very, very significant in terms of its impact on your exam. So what am I saying here? If ever that you're going to go on a specific program, make sure that they are giving you your money's worth. Make sure that they know what they are doing. Because NCLEX literally changed. And it changed to a harder format. Again, I will not grow tired of reminding you guys. NCLEX has a very good passing rate last year. For internationally trained nurses, it was at around 54 and 55. For this first quarter of 2025, internationally trained nurses are only passing at least 46 to 45%. 13,000 have taken it from January to March of this year, and only 6,000 plus passed it. That gives you an idea that NCLEX is continually changing, and you need not just to prepare yourself, but also to be aligned with the changes. However, there is an however, the concept of prioritization remains. That is for sure. Because this is the actual, okay, this is the actual core of your clinical decision making. Now, let me just clear my screen. What if, sir, coach, what if it's another form of question? The other form of question is client-centered. And in client-centered question, this is focused primarily with conditions, okay, complications, compliance yung nasulat ko, sorry. Complications, and finally, health problems. This is at least, okay, this is at least 60% of all prioritization questions that you're gonna encounter. It is being presented in a question like, there are 4 patients that you have received on the morning shift report. Who will you prioritize first? Who will you see first? As simple as that. The following orders were given, which is the top priority. Okay? And that's equivalent, again, to 60% of all. So if you have a possible of 30, at least 18 to 20 questions are client-centered prioritization question. Okay? So those are the two types of question. Now, how are we going to answer this? Of course, we prioritize based on established principles. ABC plus VS, primarily if there is an indication of urgency. Okay? This is the one that would focus on urgency. Then, of course, you also have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If the situation is particularly focusing on health problems as well as that of main priorities for wellness. So what are these? You need to understand which is a physiological need, a physiological need health problem. What could be a health problem that could affect safety and security of the patient before you even consider the top the later three? which is love and belongingness, self-esteem, and self-actualization. That is why you will hear me in some of my drills, Maslow, the question. Okay? Apply Maslow's in your question. If there would be, okay, if there would be informations, or rather, there could be choices that are focused on safety, security, and eventually biological needs, you always prioritize it. Later on, we'll practice on that one. Then there's also the question of acute versus chronic. This is very common primarily on the questions associated with new onset condition. So, if there would be signs and symptoms that are focused on acute levels, so meaning these are like new onset, let's say in stroke, it could be a new onset weakness, a new onset dysphagia, a new onset aphasia, a new onset memory loss, a new onset headache that is 10 out of 10. And the patient is saying, this is the heaviest and the most painful headache I felt in my life. That's your acute. What are the chronic? Okay, if there would be choices that is associated with diabetes mellitus for the past 10 years, an individual who is having lower back pain in the last 3 months, an individual who was recently diagnosed with aneurysm, with the doctor doesn't have anything to do or doesn't want to do anything about it. Those are chronic condition. So if you will encounter those questions, you focus on the acute conditions, which are more likely your correct answers. Now, in a side effect versus adverse effect, this is now associated with your what? Pharmacology. Okay? So what are your side effects and adverse effects? Side effects are intended effects of the medications you are taking. Let's say, for example, you have a patient with oxycodone. Okay, TikTok people, let's see if you're listening. What could be an indicated side effect of oxycodone? Okay, I'm giving you medications that you can see in NCLEX. So what are those? Okay, let's see with the Google Meet group. What's the thing that we are going to watch out for? Very good. Constipation. Okay, drowsiness. What if my patient suddenly had a blood pressure of 88/42? That is now what you call an adverse. Okay, it's now the adverse reaction. So which will you prioritize? A side effect or an adverse reaction? You're now going to prioritize the adverse reaction. Okay, so those are your basic test-taking strategies. And then there could also be associated question with client advocacy. So when you're talking about client advocacy, the technique here is plain and simple. You focus on the safety of the patient. And what are these? Orders. So let's say, for example, a nurse was able to, a previous student of mine was able to share with me that in the case study, there was an indicated 1 milligram. Okay? 1 milligram of insulin. What does that tells you? That is a question of advocacy for the patient, but you do not want to endanger the patient. That is what client advocacy is. So you need to what? It is your top priority to question the order. Very good. Question the order. That is client advocacy. If the patient is about to be discharged without any DMEs, durable medical equipments that will be supporting her walking, let's say there's no available walker, and your physical therapist was able to indicate that this patient needs assistive device, is it something that you need to advocate on as well? It is as well. Okay? So that is client advocacy. If you encounter those questions, safety. Culture sensitivity. Okay, how do we prioritize, or what is the most important thing that we will prioritize if there is cultural sensitivity? There's just three. First one you prioritize, privacy. That's your main priority if that is a cultural sensitivity question. For our brothers and sisters in the Islamic religion, of course, there will be an unspoken rule that a lady should be handled by a lady, right? So we need to make sure that you also establish their privacy. The next layer of your appropriate prioritization for this is, okay, language. Okay? Because you might need interpretation. Sir, why don't we prioritize privacy? Why language is a language barrier? Why don't we prioritize it the first one? It's simple. Because if you will essentially break that importance of privacy, as well as that of same gender care, as well as that of conservative levels of contact, you will never establish care. You cannot even ask them anything. So what's the point of having a language barrier when at the beginning, you're not gonna establish rapport? Always remember, that is also the main priority as per Dr. Hildegard Peplu. So who is Hildegard Peplu? For undergraduates who are watching this right now. Okay, I'm not gonna ask the I'm not gonna ask the the seasoned nurses. Because to be honest, we've already forgotten it, right? But who is Hildegard Peplu? Let's see. Hildegard Peplu is the mother of modern psychiatric nursing. And what theory does she establish? Interpersonal and interrelational care. And how can you establish interpersonal care? If you could make a connection with your patient. That's why we prioritize privacy. And of course, preferences. Finally, the last thing that you're going to consider as well would be cultural practice. So here we already have what? We already have food, right? We already have food. We need to focus primarily on the individual's capacity in connecting with the person, prayer preferences, okay, practices associated with religion and beliefs. Okay. So these are the compilation of test-taking strategies that you could utilize the moment that you encounter NCLEX question. Another one, which is a good friend of, was developed by a good friend of mine, Dr. Michael Carlos, is also here in the US, and also a very, a very, you can see my background, right? I have my Lego collections and all of that. So it's also a very fun collectors of everything that you see in my back as well. Created this when we were together teaching in EXL. So he was my former student. He passed and he became also one of the prominent figures in review back in the Philippines, particularly on the BPO industry. So we were actually bombarded with a question. He actually asked me this as well because there was this looming possibility of NGN. To be honest with you, the NGN was supposed to be activated 2018. It was supposed to be activated 2018. But the biggest problem during that time is that people, okay, NCSBN didn't have enough samples yet. So from 2016 all the way up until now, I am continually present on the NCLEX conferences. So I'll be back there again on September 10. And I dropped with him a question, how are we going to look into case studies? Okay, and this is where we develop the 4W process. The 4W process focus primarily on understanding what the case is all about. This is the one that will support, or we actually tweak the decision tree in order for you to understand what the condition or the case study is all about in order for you to answer it correctly. I will do private classes on this one because this would be associated with case studies, practice, and questions. So it's plain and simple. First, identify what is wrong. What is the diagnosis of the patient? Next, what could be the set of things that can be done? Therefore, we need to identify the treatments, actions, and considerations that is intended for that patient. And then finally, what should be our initial action? We now apply the knowledge. But of course, initial actions are never one and all. It could be a group. So let's say, for example, going back to the myocardial infarction, you need to prepare morphine for pain as well as that of respiratory distress. You need to give oxygen in order to establish and prevent hypoxia. You need to give nitroglycerin in order to allow opening of the chest walls, or the chest wall, sorry, the chest blood vessels in order to allow perfusion to go and converge centrally. And finally, you need to have what? Antiplatelet medications like aspirin, or if not, alteplase in order to break down what is clogging the heart. However, what is the main priority? Okay? So that's how you are going to approach your clinical judgment. And in practicing it, let's go with the technique. It's always about the three levels of priority setting. You needed to understand that in every case study, you need to make sure that you eliminate anything that is not associated with these four: airway, breathing, circulation. Okay. And then, of course, your VS panel. That includes the big four, or rather the big five, rather, and the supporting vital signs. Okay. Why is the importance of this one? Because this will route your actual prognosis. Anyone who will have a problem with A and B only had at least 30 minutes to live. Circulation can be at least 1 to 2 hours. If there would be a combination of VS, this could be 1 or rather 2 to 3 hours before they will have a problem. You could see that if the patient is slowly going to desaturate in the next 2 to 3 hours, there will now be hypoxic symptoms that could be dangerous. If the heart rate becomes a little bit arrhythmic, let's say, for example, the patient has your atrial fibrillation and suddenly develop RVR, rapid ventricular rate, to the point of like 180 and 170, what's going to happen? You're now endangering the patient's life. There's now an endangerment with the patient's life. So always focus primarily on this one. Identify the cues that will showcase you this. And now your case studies becomes a little bit easier. Why? Because understanding prioritization will already save you from the first all the way to the fourth step in your clinical judgment. Because you could identify cues that are a little bit challenging. You could analyze what the cues are saying to you. Let's say, for example, if the patient has a breathing problem, let's say COPD, and then there is that continuous need for O2, wherein the patient is now at 88 to 85 at room air, okay? It's only telling you that there is an exacerbation of the COPD. And then what's the next phase? You prioritize your hypothesis. Now the patient is having this problem when it comes to breathing, and then it's a COPD. Am I going to flush him with oxygen or give him a nebulization treatment that would open up his lungs? You see? And then finally, you have the next set. The next set of judgment, which is after prioritizing, identifying solutions. That's the reason why understanding prioritization could already cover you from first to fourth step in your actual clinical judgment. Now, some of the case studies also includes the second level of things to prioritize and evaluate. That includes your mental status changes, which is essentially this could be a first priority. Okay, if there are brain compromisation. So what are those? What are the brain compromises that could happen if the patient have stroke, if the patient would have a brain bleed, if the patient would have a problem with dementia, if the patient is taking a medication that could sedate him, any form of mental changes could be a concern. This could also be connected with untreated medical conditions or issues. So for people who are consistently on 250 blood sugar, they are continually at risk for diabetic ketoacidosis. If the patient is always beyond 150 and 160 in their blood pressure, that could be an indication of hypertensive emergencies and urgencies. So those are untreated medical issues. Where can you see this? You can also see this on the case studies. Okay? So if we're going to pull it up, some example, let me just look at that example and show it to you. So let's say, for example, this is a case study question. It would look like this. Okay? The ones that you're seeing in the screen right now will showcase here. Okay? It will showcase here. So yes, you're seeing it right. I'm also creating my own. Okay, these are my own personally made questions, NCLEX level based NGN in format. Okay, so I'm also giving this as a drills. But nonetheless, let's move away from there and go back here. So this is the importance primarily of focusing on your on your second level, because this is actually your case studies cues. Other cues would include your acute pain that could be indicated in the case or highlighted in the case. There are also acute elimination problems and, of course, risk. The last one would be the third level of your patient. And what are this third level? These are now your long-term issues, focusing on establishing independence. And usually, the third level goes into the evaluation phase of your clinical judgment. So, what are these? Giving the patient the necessary health education to maintain independence, rest and relaxation, and finally, coping with the condition. Are you learning, guys? Okay. So that is how you establish your prioritization in NCLEX and in practice as a whole. So may nagtanong, someone asked in TikTok, can this be used? Okay, can this be used in NLE? Yes po. So if we have NLE takers there, hang on, okay? I will create also a free lectures for you. Okay? It's just that I cannot move at the moment because I have a baby on the way, and at the same time, I'm also finishing the term for the semester, for the actual summer semester here in the US. But nonetheless, I have something to be prepared for you guys. Prioritization in NLE is almost the same. it follows the same universal approach to it. ABC plus V moving forward. Okay? So now, let's apply all of those things in your question. Okay. The nurse receives a client or reports for clients in the neurology floor. Okay, essentially, I created this as a personal question because yours truly, hello, hello. I was you are Sanchan. Hello, Sanchan. Hello. Okay, so neurology floor. This is my floor here in the US. I've been working for the last 3 years in a neuropsychiatric unit. So you can only imagine. First of the matter is though, which of the clients will be assessed first? Again, this is your okay priority question that is associated with okay policies and procedures as well as that of assessment and implementation. Let's see who would be your main priority. Oh, TikTok is firing up with number 2. How about our Gmail people here, or our Gbit people? Your answers? Yes, the correct answer is number 2. Okay, so what did I emphasize a while ago? This is a safety risk. Okay? And if the patient has a new onset agitation and confusion, this could also be an indication of what? Apart from the new onset word. Okay, this could be a manifestation of a worsening condition. It could be metabolic, okay? Metabolic encephalopathy. This could also mean an actual problem with the patient's what? With the patient's? With the patient's what? Try to think. With the patient's withdrawal. Okay? If you're going here in the US, you need to be ready of people withdrawing from opiates, okay? From barbiturates, okay? From benzodiazepines, because it is so common here. Let's say, for example, for me, magtatagalog lang ako saglit, ha? Mhm. What's happening? Okay? Nagkasakit lang ako dito, sumakit lang yung balikat ko. Automatic. Automatic, bagsak ako kaagad. Binibigyan ako ng oxycodone kaagad. Okay? So someone asked, why is it not the Guillain-Barré syndrome? Okay? The Guillain-Barré syndrome. Why is it not? One thing that I've always said to you guys before, okay? It's because if you're going to look at the Guillain-Barré, it is an ascending bilateral paralysis. Okay? Hypotonia. This is hypotonia. Okay? If there is a zero in the deep tendon reflex, is a common manifestation. Okay. You are correct. You are correct that this is something that you need to also assess. But keep in mind that there is no indication there that Guillain-Barré is already at the level of the chest. Right? There is no compromisation of the chest, of the heart rate, of the diaphragm, as well as that of the beating capacity of the patient. So that is considered, okay, that will be considered as a normal. And usually the main manifestation of Guillain-Barré is a decrease in the tone of the patellar reflex, particularly on the foot. That's why they are having what? They have, diba? They have drop foot. And sometimes they could not move it. Every night, I'm seeing it here. For some reason, I haven't seen this in the Philippines when I was practicing in the Philippines, but here in the US, it's like almost every week. Like seriously, every week. There's someone that I have a sign of GBS. Okay? It's not the multiple sclerosis because, again, this is a common manifestation. Right? This is also common. And a Parkinson's disease was having drooling. That is essentially one of its, okay, this is one of its what? Cardinal symptoms. Okay. So our main concern is the new onset because apart from the safety risk, there is also a risk for withdrawal. Agitation, sudden confusion could be an indication of shifting levels of consciousness. Okay? We're able to get it, guys? Okay? TikTok group. Are you getting it? Okay. Next one. Okay? Which of the clients should the nurse assess first? A GCS of 14, a patient who has coronary angiography in the past hour is developing back pain, a post-operative 2-day or day 2 coronary bypass graft with a pain rating at 6, or a patient who has a deep vein thrombosis with a heparin drip of 1,250 units per hour and an activated partial thromboplastin APTT of 60. Okay. So this is where NLE techniques are not gonna work because in NLE you're also taught of what? The longest answer. The longest answer is the best answer. Of course, it is that. Okay. So let's begin. Let's eliminate everything. Let's begin with number 1. You do have a head injury, but the Glasgow Coma Scale is 14. Is it something of a concern or not? Mm-hmm. Of course, it is not. 14 and 15 is the normal GCS. Okay, there could be at least a little bit of changes because there is a there is a head injury, but not essentially something that could be very heavy. Okay, what's the next one? Let's go down. This patient who has a heparin. A lot of people answer this simply because there is a continuous heparin that is dripping. There's a possibility of bleeding risk. Now, the question is if you have procedures, again, is the procedure within the normal parameters that will not endanger the patient? Let's check. Okay? Is APTT a normal value, a therapeutic value? Yes. Remember, it should be doubled from the 25 to 35 for some books. Right now here in the US, we're actually focusing on the XA. Okay? The anti-XA. That's the one that we are focusing on because that is a little bit more specific. Okay? I will focus on that. I'm also going to give a free class on hematology one of these days. Okay? So we are going to discuss on this one. Okay? So any person who is on a continuous anticoagulation treatment is therapeutic at 45 to 70 seconds. Okay. So between number 2 and number 3. Okay? Number 3 is expected. So your correct answer is, if you answered number 2, nice job, nurses. You got it right. Because a coronary angiography, okay, is just what? It could be only a diagnostic, right? For any person who have undergone heart catheterization, you should focus on any new onset of changes in the blood pressure, heart rate, of course, vital signs, strength of the distal pulses, color, as well as that of what? As well as that of any form of new onset pain. Okay? This is just the past hour. Okay? The past hour is already indicating, and the patient is already indicating he's having back pain. So what is this telling us? Any form of pain, particularly in the back, post-angiography, could be an indicator of retro. Okay, what is that? Retroperitoneal bleed, which could be associated with a puncture of your aorta. Okay? So this could be a little bit of a problem, or it could also be associated with what? if there's a rupture of the lining of the aorta, there could be blood seeping. Because where is this coming from? Right? From the femoral artery. Okay, so this is something that needs an immediate follow-up. Okay, again, this is normal. This is normal. This is expected. This is the correct answer. Okay. Are you learning, guys? Okay, share lang po ha. Share it to your nursing friends. Okay? I'm here to stay now. Before kasi, yeah, because someone asked me, will I be gone again? For those who've known me, I've been doing this for a good 13 years. And I've been doing this since 2012 when I transitioned into teaching NCLEX for a group of people who are part of the NARS program of the government. For those old enough, just like me, you might have remembered the time when there is a program of the DOH where nurses, even coming from Manila, are being sent to the far-flung provinces. That's the NARS program. So, sa mga nasa TikTok, sino nakakaalala nun? Sino yung mga kaidaran ko? Who remember that? Okay? Now, the problem is, during that time, the US opened up. After being, after having retrogression for the last, I think, 8 or 10 years, oh my God, nagbukas si US. And it was, it was a free for all. Anyone who will get their NCLEX early will have a shot at it. Because again, after the 2013, 2015 opening of the of the visa, it became once again retrogression from 2015 all the way up until 2019 before it started to move. Okay? Yeah, RN Hills or the NARS program. Yes, di ba? Who remembers that program? So I have students there before who are able to be my students in the NLE and they wanted to be first in line. And that's the reason why yours truly had started this advocacy of helping people, especially nurses, transition into the US. Okay? So if you'll be asking me if I will be gone, because I stopped this advocacy back in 2020. I think it's, to be honest, back in 2018, because I was elevated uh to an executive position with United Health Group, and it's focused on clinical learning. Hence, I could not openly, okay, discuss NCLEX because we are also handling an NCLEX program. That's the reason why I slowed down a little bit. And then that went all the way when I migrated with my family here early 2023. That's the reason why right now my life is a little bit easier. So your coach is back. As simple as that. And we will be, okay, I will be again. This is just a way for me to give back to the nursing profession who has been good to me, my family, and everything. Okay? So I'll be more than happy to help you guys. Okay, just message me up. There's some people in YouTube that was also asking. I think I saw that. Am I? Do I have a review center for now? No, I did once have a review center back in 2019, but it was already dissolved because of the COVID. Okay, that was Eagle Nursing. So we were able to operate for a good 2 years. Unfortunately, COVID made us cave in. But I was able to work transitioning to Australia during that time. So I was helping most of the Australian training centers before. I could not tell them here because that's like automatically giving giving advertisement for them. But I worked with three of the biggest in Australia, and we were able to produce passers during that time. And then eventually, I moved here into the US, of course, to finish my doctorates in nursing here, which hopefully I would be able to finish by 2028 or 2029, either of the two. Okay? So, yes, thank you for asking that. And again, I'll be happy. I'll be happy to help you guys. Final question for us to practice on. Okay? There is a major community disaster. Stable clients needs to be discharged to make beds available for victims. Which clients can be sent home safely? Okay, select all that apply. So again, this is always a present question in NCLEX, especially with what's happening right now, the floods in Texas and everywhere else. Now, how do we answer this? This is where your technique of acute, okay, versus chronic comes in. Okay? So let's see who has an acute condition and who has a chronic condition. A person who is 1 day post-operative hemicolectomy. So are we going to consider this? Is this someone that we could consider? Okay. What do you think? So if that is 1 day post-operative hemicolectomy, we will consider it. Naku, why is my animation not working? Okay, I'll have the pen. Okay. So we will consider that. Multiple sclerosis with ataxia and diplopia. Okay? Could we consider this to go home? Oh no, sorry. Sorry, not one. Why did I circle them? Okay? So this is an unstable client. Okay? This could have acute condition. So this is an acute patient. Okay? The question is all about the person who's about to go home. History of multiple sclerosis with ataxia and diplopia. Is it considered normal? Okay, unexpected? Yes. So this is a stable patient. This is a chronic patient. So we could send this home. Okay? How about reporting abdominal pain with coffee ground emesis? This is an acute patient because this is GI bleed. Okay. How about taking warfarin with a prothrombin time and international normalization of 2 times the control value? Okay, can we send this home? Yes, because your warfarin in its own is already a maintenance medication. So essentially, this patient is already on a therapeutic, okay, value. There we go. And now number 5, diagnosed with endocarditis on antibiotics with PICC line, probably receiving ceftriaxone or cefepime, or worst case scenario, if that is a MRSA-related infection, it's going to be meropenem or vancomycin. We will, okay, maintain him. Okay? So why did we focus on the chronic? Because the prioritization is all about patient management and who can be sent home effectively. Any question from our nurses right now? Okay, any questions? Were you able to understand the concept? Okay. Sorry sa kalat sa mga makakita sa akin. So, were you able to understand the concept? Okay. So hopefully I was able to reach more people in this second activity, particularly focusing when it comes to your NCLEX prioritization. So guys, always remember, there is no such thing as an easy exam. Okay? NCLEX, NLE, local board, CBT, When is my next live? Okay. I will be going live mostly on weekdays. So I might be back more likely on Monday because tomorrow I will be charge nurse. I think I've had charge tomorrow on the neuro unit here in New Mexico. So I will be at work. So also question, sir, ask lang po. In NCLEX question po ba, are we allowed to go back to the previous question? Unfortunately, no. It's a touch move. Okay? It's a touch move. So you need to make sure that you choose the correct answer. Okay? So probably my final reminders for everyone. In terms of decision making, as nurses, we are not just expected to decide effectively. We need to decide based on knowledge, capacity, and capability. That's why for us nurses, hindi tayo nag inject ng may suka. Di ba? You know what I mean, right? Remember? Hindi tayo nag inject ng may suka. No? Hindi tayo nagpa-flash ng catheter with dato puti. Okay? Because our decisions are based on knowledge, nursing science, as well as that of nursing capacities. Therefore, hone it. Because I'm telling you guys, especially for those who would have American dreams, you need it here. You really, really need it here. Ano po kaya magandang bilhin? iPad or MacBook po for school? I'm not quite sure what are you going to use it for, but I would rather have go with an iPad because most of my students are using the iPad, especially when taking notes. You know, it's a lot easier compared to other compared to other structures, okay, or other types. Probably on the next time that I will be going live, I will be focusing on coaching now. Okay, because I've been coaching nurses as well in their career moves moving forward with NCLEX or rather with nursing in general. Siguro maganda natin pag-usapan how it will be best to start nursing, what would be the best ways for us to actually be prepared for nursing. We could also talk about, you know, if you have plans of going into the United States. Nonetheless, I only have one very important message for you all. Everyone in this meeting right now, may you be a student, a nurse, or someone who would want to start their American dream. You, okay, you guys are the next generation of nurses or the current generation of nurses that will give life a second chance. Every person that you are going to handle are going to be people that will not just be given a chance to life, but also a hope for betterment. That is why you need to be your best. Okay? Thank you very much, guys. Again, this is your coach, Coach Alan Galiangala, signing off here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And again, I will be seeing you in our next live. Be careful, everyone. Make sure that you are in good faith, lalong-lalo na dyan sa Pilipinas, ha? Ingat po. Okay po, ha?